Yeah.
It's freezing cold outside, and people are worried about their energy bills. Yet on top of all the other costs he's lumped on people's bills, it's reported that he's about to tax people with gas boilers to pay for people with heat pumps. So can he definitively rule out for the rest of this parliament no new taxes on people heating their homes? Mr. Speaker, the rumours are he's pitching himself to be the next Chancellor. He didn't rule out taxes on people heating their homes for this Parliament. He's shutting down the North Sea, a disastrous EU energy deal, a secret deal with China, industry fleeing in its droves. Energy bills have risen 5 times on his watch. Doesn't this show he's got to be the only person in the country that could do a worse job than the current Chancellor?
Miliband's net zero gamble, the £100 boiler tax, and the heat pump mirage. The British winter has a way of exposing the cracks in our infrastructure, but this year, the chill is coming directly from Whitehall. We are witnessing a government that seems to have replaced pragmatic energy policy with a game of high-stakes net zero chicken, and the person holding the steering wheel is Ed Miliband. The Energy Secretary has just confirmed a significant hike in the so-called boiler tax, a move that will see the cost of a standard replacement appliance jump by at least £100. It is a policy that is less about clean heat and more about financial coercion, penalizing the millions of Britons who simply cannot afford the £14,000 price tag of a heat pump. Welcome to British Energy, your primary destination for high-caliber political and energy analysis, served with the maturity the British public deserves and the sass the Westminster bubble fears. We are operating in an era where independent voices are the only ones willing to peel back the layers of government spin. Before we dive into why the 2026 energy targets are looking more like a fantasy novel than a government white paper, I have a small request. Please, take a breath, stay informed, and do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button and join the British Energy community. We are building a home for those who want the cold, hard facts, and your support helps independent channels like this survive against the billionaire-owned press. I encourage you to watch this analysis until the very end, as the true cost of these policies is often hidden in the fine print. Subscribe now to British Energy, and let's look at the mechanics of this latest Milibandism.
I live off food banks. My brother helps me top up my meter.
Mary is a working mum of 4 from Stirlingshire. She says almost every penny she earns is spent on trying to keep her house warm.
Just getting up and going to work knowing it's going to go in a meter is so difficult. Anything for £30 to £50 a day. My TV doesn't even work. No tumble dryer, no hot tub at my back garden. That's just my normal boiler.
Scottish Power discovered a problem with Mary's boiler, but she's still waiting for a replacement. She's worried about how she'll cope in the months ahead.
Just dreading the cost going up so much because it's just going to get worse and worse. I've got over £2,000 in rent arrears. It's either feed my meter or pay my rent.
Mary is just one of thousands of households across the country concerned as household budgets face their biggest challenge yet. Tomorrow, the energy price cap will increase. Mary is a working mum of 4 from Stirlingshire. She says almost every penny she earns is spent on trying to keep her house warm.
Just getting up and going to work knowing it's going to go in a meter is so difficult. Anything for £30 to £50 a day. My TV doesn't even work. No tumble dryer, no hot tub at my back garden. That's just my normal boiler.
Scottish Power discovered a problem with Mary's boiler, but she's still waiting for a replacement. She's worried about how she'll cope in the months ahead.
Just dreading the cost going up so much because it's just going to get worse and worse. I've got over £2,000 in rent arrears. It's either feed my meter or pay my rent.
Mary is just one of thousands of households across the country concerned as household budgets face their biggest challenge yet. Tomorrow, the energy price cap will increase, meaning average bills will rise by almost £700, from £1,300 to almost £2,000 a year.
It's happening because the price of wholesale gas on the global market has been really high. The prices started to increase last year as a result of economies opening up around the world after the COVID pandemic, but it's been further exacerbated by things like the war in Ukraine.
Jean lives on her own in Glasgow on a state pension.
Over £390 for my gas, and the same for my electricity, £390 as well. That's a big jump, so it is. And I'm worrying about it,
And as for students like Povilas, higher bills are an additional stress on top of studies.
Under the clean heat market mechanism, boiler manufacturers are being handed a quota. From April 2026, for every 92 gas boilers they sell, they must sell 8 heat pumps. If they fail, and given current consumer sentiment they are almost certain to fail, they face a staggering fine of £500 per unsold heat pump. Now, any first-year economics student could tell you what happens next. Manufacturers like Worcester Bosch and Baxi aren't going to just absorb those losses, they are going to bake them into the price of every boiler sold. This is why the industry has dubbed it the boiler tax. It is a levy on the 1.4 million households that need to replace their aging boilers every year, effectively forcing them to subsidize a technology that most homes aren't even ready for. It is a stunningly regressive move. As Adrian Waddilove of the Heating and Hot Water Industry Council points out, this is an additional net zero tax before the Chancellor has even delivered her budget. It's a stealth tax on the very people the government claims to be protecting, working families who just want to keep their houses warm without going into debt. If you appreciate this level of unapologetic scrutiny of the green agenda, make sure you are subscribed to British Energy. We don't just report the news, we hold the powerful to account, regardless of how many solar panels they have on their roof. Your subscription is the fuel that keeps this independent reporting going. The numbers here are nothing short of embarrassing for the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. Miliband has a target of 600,000 heat pump installations annually by 2028. How are we doing? In the first half of this year, just 30,000 were fitted. At the current rate of replacement, it would take 150 years to transition the UK's 25 million gas-heated homes. 150 years. That's not a transition, that's a geological era. Yet, despite this glacial pace, the government is doubling down on fines. Mike Foster, head of the Energy Utilities Alliance, put it perfectly. The policy punishes those who can't afford a heat pump, those whose homes aren't suitable, and those who simply do not want one. And let's be honest about the suitability. A heat pump typically costs £14,000. Even with the maximum £7,500 grant, a homeowner is still looking at a multi-thousand-pound gap, not to mention the cost of new, larger radiators and the disruption of potentially repiping an entire Victorian terrace. Compare that to a boiler replacement, which usually sits between £2,000 and £4,000. For most people, the math just doesn't work. Miliband is trying to use £13.2 billion of taxpayers' money to grease the wheels of his Warm Homes plan, but you can't buy public consent for a technology that many view as an expensive, noisy, and less effective alternative to the reliable blue flame of a gas boiler. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on the net zero fallout and the shifting sands of the British energy market, ensure you are part of our subscriber base here at British Energy. We delve into the stories that the mainstream media treats as settled science, asking the questions they refuse to touch. Stay informed by joining us today. It's free, and it keeps you ahead of the Westminster curve. The Shido Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho, has been scathing, accusing Miliband of having open-ended powers to make gas boilers increasingly unaffordable. She's right. When you use targets and fines to artificially inflate the price of an essential product, you aren't encouraging choice. You are engaging in economic bullying. The government is effectively bribing 5 million low-income households with insulation and solar panels while taxing everyone else to pay for it. It's Robin Hood in reverse, but with a green cape. There is also a significant industrial risk here that the government seems happy to ignore. We currently manufacture 80% of our boilers right here in the UK, supporting thousands of skilled jobs. In contrast, only 33% of heat pumps are UK-made. By fining our domestic boiler manufacturers into oblivion, Miliband is effectively subsidizing jobs in overseas factories. We are trading a world-class British industry for a fragmented supply chain dependent on imports. It is the height of national self-sabotage, and all for the sake of a spreadsheet target that looks increasingly unachievable. The government spokesperson claims demand for heat pumps is growing fast, citing September as a record month for applications. But record demand in a market that is failing to reach even 10% of its target is a bit like bragging about a record crowd at a village fete when you were expecting Wembley Stadium. The reality is that the public is voting with their wallets, and they are choosing the reliability and affordability of gas. We are at a crossroads. We can either have an energy policy based on engineering reality and consumer consent, or we can have one based on Miliband's ideological fervor and punitive fines. Right now, it looks like we're getting the latter. The boiler tax is just the beginning. As the targets get tighter and the fines get heavier, the pressure on British families will only increase. British Energy will be right here to document every U-turn and every unintended consequence of this green crusade. This is the most significant overhaul of British home life in a generation, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If you want a mature British standard of analysis that respects your intelligence and doesn't shy away from the sassy truth, hit that subscribe button. We need your voice in the conversation as we navigate the net zero minefield together. Every new subscriber helps us reach more people who are tired of being gaslit by Whitehall. The bill for Ed Miliband's ambitions is coming due, and it's going to be added to your next invoice. Stay sharp and don't let the green spin cloud your vision. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll be looking at whether the Chancellor's upcoming budget will double down on these green levies or finally offer some relief to the squeezed middle. Take a breath, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.